What if the relationship you're desperately holding on to is the very thing blocking the version of you that you were born to become? What if the pain you're running from is actually the doorway to your breakthrough? Think about it. How many nights have you replayed the same memories, the same conversations, the same "maybe it could work again" story, only to wake up with the same empty feeling in your chest? What if the heartbreak wasn't life punishing you, but life trying to wake you up? What if letting go isn't losing anything, but finally reclaiming everything you abandoned to keep someone else happy? What if the person you're grieving wasn't your soulmate, but your comfort zone disguised as love? What if your future is screaming for you to move, but you can't hear it because you're too attached to a past that no longer exists? And what if the moment you stop asking "why me" and start asking "what now," everything shifts? What if acceptance isn't the end? What if it's the beginning? The moment you stop romanticizing the memories and start rewriting the meaning behind them, you stop breaking and you start becoming, you're not here to repeat the pain, you're here to rise through it. So stay with me till the end, because this isn't just about letting go of a relationship. This is about finally letting go of the version of you that was never meant to stay small. Your next chapter begins the moment you decide it does. And today, that moment might be right now. What if the thing you're fighting so hard to hold on to is the very thing blocking the life you were born to live? Imagine that for a moment. We spend so much energy clinging to a relationship, telling ourselves it should work, it could work, it might work, while deep inside we already know it's over. Acceptance isn't soft. Acceptance is not giving up. Acceptance is a psychological earthquake that shatters denial, destroys illusions, and forces you to confront the truth you've been avoiding. And that truth, it often hits harder than the breakup itself. Acceptance is the moment you realize you were negotiating with pain, making excuses for loneliness, and calling it love. It's the moment you see that you weren't addicted to the person. You were addicted to the version of them you created in your mind. Acceptance exposes everything you tried to hide from yourself. The red flags you painted white, the broken promises you stitched together, the moments you stayed silent just to keep the peace. It shows you how much of yourself you had to shrink in order to keep the relationship alive. But here's the shocking part. The pain you feel isn't because you lost them. The pain is because you lost yourself while trying to keep them. Acceptance is the first breakthrough because it snaps you out of the illusion. It dismantles the fantasy and reveals the reality you've been living in. It forces you to see that staying attached to someone who no longer grows with you is emotional self-sabotage. Acceptance is the doorway, the collapse before the rise, the uncomfortable awakening you secretly needed. And once you cross that line, once you say, "This is what it is," something powerful happens inside you. Your healing finally begins. What if the biggest reason you can't move on isn't the person you lost, but the identity you built around them? What if the real breakup you're avoiding is the breakup with the version of you who only existed inside that relationship? Think about it. How many decisions did you make just to keep them happy? How many times did you silence your needs because you were afraid they'd walk away? Somewhere along the way, you didn't just love them, you merged with them. You began to define yourself by their opinions, their moods, their validation. And now that they're gone, it feels like you are gone too. This is the shock most people never see coming. You didn't lose your partner. You lost the identity you created to be with them. You shaped your personality around their approval. You adjusted your dreams to fit their comfort zone. You attached your worth to how much attention they gave you. Detaching that identity feels terrifying because it feels like tearing off a piece of your soul. But the truth, that piece didn't belong to you in the first place. When you detach your identity from the relationship, something unsettling but powerful is revealed. You realize how much you neglected yourself. You see the parts of you that were waiting to be acknowledged. You notice the dreams you buried so they wouldn't feel threatened. You understand the strength you abandoned just to avoid conflict. That shock hits hard, but it wakes you up. Because the moment you stop defining yourself by who loved you or who left you, you reclaim the version of you that was always there, strong, whole, and independent. And that's when the real healing begins. When you stop trying to become who they wanted and finally return to who you were meant to be. What if the real reason you're stuck isn't the breakup, but the question you keep asking yourself? What if every time you say, "Why me?" you are chaining yourself to the very past you're trying to escape? That one question, just 3 words, can trap you in an endless loop of replaying memories, analyzing moments, and torturing yourself with imaginary scenarios. Why me? Turns your mind into a prison cell where every painful moment replays like a movie you can't turn off. And the shocking part is, you don't even realize how much power you're giving away. Because why me? Keeps you looking backward. Keeps you focused on the loss, the betrayal, the disappointment. It forces you to dig through emotional ruins, hoping you'll find something that makes the pain make sense. But pain will never make sense while you're still standing inside it. That question drains your energy, destroys your clarity, and convinces you that life happened to you, not for you. It traps you in victim mode, and as long as you stay there, healing cannot begin. But everything changes the moment you shift to what now. Suddenly, your past stops being a wall and becomes a doorway. What now is a command, a decision, a shock to your system that pulls your attention out of the darkness and slams it into, what if the relationship didn't break you at all, but the meaning you attached to it did? What if the memories you're mourning aren't even accurate, but emotional illusions you created to protect yourself from a truth you weren't ready to face? This is the part that shocks most people. The relationship didn't hurt you. Your interpretation of it did. You didn't fall apart because of what happened. You fell apart because of what you decided it meant about you. Think about it. When the person you loved walked away, you didn't just lose them. You created a meaning like, I'm not enough, I wasn't worthy, I failed, or I'll never find this again. Those meanings are the real wounds, deeper than any breakup. We suffer not from the event, but from the emotional story we write around it. And the mind loves to dramatize, exaggerate, glorify, and distort until the memory becomes far bigger and heavier than the actual experience. What if the relationship wasn't destiny? You just called it destiny. What if a red flag wasn't a sign of passion? You just labeled it love. What if the moments you replay at 3 a.m. aren't sacred memories at all? Just selective highlights your mind keeps looping to make the loss feel more painful and meaningful than it ever was? The human brain hates uncertainty, so it creates meaning, even if the meaning destroys you. It would rather blame you than accept that sometimes people change, sometimes love fades, sometimes timing cracks everything apart. When you rewrite the meaning, you rewrite the emotion. And when you rewrite the emotion, the grip of the past weakens instantly. The shocking truth, the relationship didn't define you, you defined the relationship. And now, with one new meaning, you can redefine yourself. What if the one thing you were most afraid to do is the only thing that could finally set your soul free? What if the emotional cage you're trapped in isn't built from memories, love, or heartbreak, but from the unforgiven moments you keep replaying over and over again? People think holding on to anger gives them power, but here's the shocking truth. Resentment is not power, it's poison. Every time you replay what they did, every time you re-feel the betrayal, every time you relive the pain, you chain yourself to the moment that broke you. And the person who hurt you, they're not feeling a single ounce of that weight. You are. Forgiveness doesn't mean they deserve peace, it means you do. It doesn't mean what they did was right. It means you're finally done letting it control your mind, your emotions, your future. The real shock is this: the person you need to forgive the most might not even be them. It might be yourself, for staying too long, for ignoring your intuition, for giving more than you received, for trusting someone who wasn't ready to handle your heart. That silent self-blame digs deeper wounds than anything anyone ever did to you. What if the pain isn't coming from the past, but from the way you're holding it? What if the moment you release the anger, the guilt, the how could they, the why me, your entire emotional world collapses into a freedom you haven't felt in years? Forgiveness is not a gift to the past. It's a key to your future. And the moment you choose it, even quietly, even trembling, you stop being the victim of your story and become the author again. Because the heaviest thing you will ever carry is a heart full of anger. And the most shocking truth of all is this: letting go isn't losing. Letting go is how you finally win. What if the only reason you can't let go is because you have nothing exciting enough ahead to pull you forward? What if the past feels so powerful only because your future hasn't been built yet? Think about it. Your mind keeps replaying memories not because they're special, but because you haven't created new ones that are stronger. The human brain clings to whatever feels most familiar, even if that familiarity is painful. And the shocking part? A painful past feels safer to your mind than an undefined future. When a relationship ends, it leaves a massive empty space. Most people panic and rush to fill that space with memories, overthinking, or emotional wounds, but almost no one asks themselves, what incredible life could I build from here? When you don't have a vision, your past becomes your default destination. You keep revisiting old conversations, old pictures, old emotions, because you haven't designed anything better to replace them. But the moment you start imagining a future that excites you more than the relationship ever did, something shifts inside you. Suddenly the heartbreak feels smaller. The memories feel duller. The emotional attachment begins to loosen on its own. Your brain stops obsessing over what you lost and starts focusing on what you could gain. This is not motivation, this is biology. The mind follows direction, and right now your direction is backward. The shock is this: letting go doesn't happen by force. It happens by replacement. You need something more powerful than your pain, a dream, a mission, a version of yourself you've never met before. The moment your future becomes brighter than your past, you stop clinging and start evolving. Letting go becomes effortless when the life ahead of you becomes a place you desperately want to reach. Here is the conclusion in the same powerful transformational tone. In the end, letting go of a relationship is not about erasing the past. It's about reclaiming the future. It's the moment you decide that your growth matters more than your grief, your purpose matters more than your pain, and your identity is too powerful to stay trapped in a chapter that has already ended. Every breakthrough begins with one decision: to stop living in the memory of who you were and start rising into the person you're meant to become. Your heart is not breaking, it's expanding. Your story is not closing, it's shifting into a higher level that requires a stronger, wiser, more awakened version of you. You are not walking away from love, you are walking toward the version of yourself that can finally receive the love you truly deserve. Good luck on your journey forward, and thank you for allowing this message to be part of your transformation.